Before we can use our character in animation, we first need to create a rig so that we can deform our mesh. So we're going to start by pressing Shift C to center our cursor and Shift A, edit in a new armature. We're going to select B-bone and X-ray just so I can see the bones through the mesh, and I like B-bones because they're a little bit easier to deal with. So tab into edit mode and we will create 4 bones, and we will name these hat, head, body, and base. Cool. We'll also duplicate this, rotate it 90 degrees, and scale it down. This is going to be our ear. By the way, Control-Alt-S is what you use to shrink or fatten your bones. We're going to call this one here. I suppose I could call it ear. It's more of a hand, but I'll call it ear.l. Let's duplicate this, put it on the other side, and we'll go recalculate our roll with Control-N, and we're also going to press W and flip names. That way it becomes ear.r. Duplicate this again, RZ -90, Control-N, Y-axis, and we'll move this into place. So this here is going to become our nose. We'll name it as such. Cool, so we're going to make sure that these are all parented to the head, which they already are, so I won't be able to do that again. And what we need to do now is we need to add in our eyes. So I'll select our eye, go Shift S, cursor to selected, and with our armature selected, in edit mode we'll go Shift A and Shift S, selection to cursor, and move it out. That just means that it's perfectly straight out. And I'm going to shrink this down. Don't worry that it looks like it's at the tip of the eye. That's actually the pivot point to rotate it around the center. It's because of the way that these lattices are set up that it actually pulls the eye back quite considerably. So don't worry too much about that. Alright, so this one here, we're going to call this I.L. Shift D along the Y-axis and bring it out a bit. Make sure that eye is parented to the head, and this one is not parented to anything. We're going to call this one here look at .l, and that's one that we're going to be tracking the eyes to. So it's important that it's directly in front of the eye. So we also need another bone, which will be the lattice parent. So we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, Shift Alt S to make it a bit fatter, and we'll scale it in towards the cursor a bit, just so it's a little bit of a different size. I'm going to call this, let's call it iLattice.l. We can't parent the eye and the lattice to the same bone, obviously, because then the lattice would rotate with the eye and it would look kind of weird. We'd end up with like a oblong eye coming out. So with our main eye selected, we're going to go Shift D and rotate I might actually just turn this to, where are we? Display wire. Alright, scale this down, rotate it around, about there will do. This one here is going to be eyelid top.l, and we'll duplicate this, rotate it around till we get to the other one, and we're going to call this one here eyelid bottom.l. Fantastic. Let's do one more thing. We're going to extrude these up. And just fatten them up a little. Extrude this one here down. What we're going to be using here is we're going to be using some constraints. So basically these will control our eyelids, but to move them easily we're going to be using these little control bones. So let's name them as such. Eyelid underscore control top.l. Eyelid underscore control underscore bottom.l.